Welcome to the Marketing for Startups podcast. If you're trying to figure out marketing for your startup, then you're in the right place. In this podcast, we go high level, looking at the intersection of branding, data, and leadership to offer you a marketing playbook to grow and scale. Join me each week for in-depth interviews, tactical advice, and practical trainings. Hi, I'm your host, Victoria Hajar, veteran marketer and startup enthusiast. I promise to bring my experience and curiosity to each episode. Then together, we'll peel back the onion on this ever-changing discipline that is marketing. I'm so happy you're here. Let's dive in. Hello, and welcome to this very special Thanksgiving edition of the Marketing for Startups podcast. First of all, happy holidays. I hope that everyone's having a beautiful day. Or if you're listening after Thursday, that you enjoyed your holiday and the time with your friends or your family. It is my absolute favorite time of year. I am up in New Jersey with my family and my 3 brothers and all of our kids. And it is just such a special, beautiful moment, especially after last year where we spent both Thanksgiving and Christmas just with our micro immediate family, just my husband, Andre, and the kids. So I'm so happy to be sort of in a fun family fiesta celebration now. And I hope you guys are enjoying as well. So this is a special episode because I really want to take a moment from our regular programming to say how, from the bottom of my heart, and all the way down to my toes, so grateful to you, those out there with me in your earbuds, just listening to this podcast. I get such beautiful messages from people saying that they love the show, and you can't even imagine how much it means to me. It's a little bit crazy that I get those messages at all. So thank you for your comments, because they really keep me going, doing this and showing up every week for you guys. So I've been working in my business, Ugly Ventures, in one form or another. It wasn't always Ugly Ventures, had so many iterations, but I've been working on this for the past 6 years, almost 7 years now. And I've done everything. I mean, I've blogged, I've showed up on social daily doing videos. I've been the ultra networker, doing all the things. But what really gains traction is what people are responding to and where you feel best. That's the combination. And it's really that simple. And people don't realize that marketing is nothing more than experiments, just a series of experiments that you pay attention to. That's how marketing is successful, just running experiments and seeing how they land. And there's no one size fits all approach for business at all, and for marketing. And that's because each founder and each team have a certain set of skills. And so this is what I want to talk a little bit about on today's episode, is the idea of how to gain traction, because I have so many people in my world, in my community, in my audience that are builders, that are creative entrepreneurs. You are founders on a mission to just live your wild dreams and visions and put your products and services out into the world. And I'm often asked about traction, because this is what you need to show if you want to raise money, right? That you have to prove to investors the traction that your business already has. Especially as women, we need to show traction. We're not going to get our wild, crazy ideas funded like these stories we hear out of Silicon Valley, where men get just billions of dollars based on just their, the ideas that they have. But no, as women, we need to show traction and proof of concept for our businesses, which is just the way the cookie crumbles. And so I want to spend a hot minute talking a little bit on traction and going to this idea of where you feel best as a founder, as a business, as a team, and what your audience is responding to. Where are the signs of life, as they say? And what I know to be true and I think I say this like a broken record, but we have this idea in marketing that we need to be everywhere. And especially, obviously if we're solopreneurs and we're doing it on our own, we know how overwhelming that is. But one thing that I find is that once we get the revenue going and we start hiring a team, because we have, for example, one person managing our social media, we think that that person should now be everywhere and do all of the things. And when you're just starting out, it really is a dangerous, like a recipe for disaster if you try to do everything at 100%. Even if you have a dedicated social media manager, it just doesn't make fiscal sense to have that person be everywhere. So what I would say is follow your interests and look for signs of life. So even with your team, continue with this mentality. If you're really partial to a handful of social media platforms, but you aren't on any of the other ones, there's no need to be on all of them, right? As a founder and someone that's leading the marketing team, whether you have a marketing background or not, it is vital for you to have an understanding of what your team is doing. And if you have them everywhere and spending tons of time on TikTok, for example, but you're never on TikTok and you don't know one thing about TikTok and you're not seeing any production on TikTok, really no reason why you should be there. So I'm encouraging you to lean into your interests, right? Have your team be focusing on the places where you feel really comfortable and you feel like your brand feels really comfortable, right? Be doing the marketing that fits in what your brand is as a persona and also who your customers are. You don't have to be anywhere. And then you can narrow down, looking through the data, through surveys, having conversations with your customers. Get that feedback on what they're responding to, what they like. And also going back to the previous episode we had on measuring your metrics, right? Looking at the data and the metrics and seeing what of your marketing activities, when you pull that through to revenue, when you look through to actually how much money is being made by that marketing effort, you can start to cut things out, right? And we often miss this when we have teams. We tend to think that we need to be everywhere and we need to be everything to everyone on all of the platforms and do all the things. But the truth is that even the big organizations, right, they have a small number of the marketing activities that they execute that actually bring in the majority of the customers. It's that 80-20 rule. It's that Pareto principle. So if you have a small team or you're bootstrapped, right, you should be desperately trying to find that 20% because marketing has so much, right? And I think it is more apparent in marketing than any other department of how much you could be doing, right? I don't think that the average person looks at their accounting and goes to bed worrying or fantasizing about all of the advanced forecasting they could be doing, right? But we do have this keen awareness of all of the other brands and what they're doing for marketing and thinking that we need to be doing that. And it's just going to create a scenario where us or our team are doing poorly a lot of things instead of just doing super duper well one or two things, right? So there's just no need, for example, to be on all the social media platforms or do all the things. You just have to get really, really good at the thing that's bringing in the results. And that's how you grow your business. And I think about, when I think about looking for signs of life, and it's all about what people respond to and what do people want, because you created your brand for the customers, not for yourself. Maybe initially you created it for yourself, right? But once it's out there in the world, Your brand, your business exists for your customers, to please your customers, to satisfy the needs of your customers. And the brands that have had the most success are the ones that go in the direction of what the audience is responding to. Even if, and this is important, even if it goes against what you want or what your plan or your long-term strategy is. And this is where we need to be agile. This is where we need to know how to pivot, right? And if you find that your audience is resonating with a certain piece of content, take time to analyze why. Why is your audience liking that piece of content? Is there something there that they need? Really get into the psychology of your customer, because this is going to be how you grow and how you get the traction. So speaking of getting into the psychology of your customer, this is my segue. I have an enormous favor to ask you. It's actually more of a bribe. So we're in the holiday season. I've been thinking about how I can give back, but also be getting this monster task that I've been needing to get out off my plate. So as I practice what I preach, I'm all about studying your audience, right? Learning about your customers, market research. I think I talk about this in many, many episodes. And what I'm in the process of doing is developing a product, just one product, right? Focusing on one thing well, for female founders that can actually help educate and simplify and systemize, streamline the marketing. And the reason behind this is because there's so many people that I want to help, but I don't have the time. So I have a beautiful community of female founders. And if you're listening, I'm so grateful for you. So many women that I want to get inside their business and help, but the truth of the matter is I'm limited by a number of clients that I can take on. So what I want to do now is satisfy or be able to help, even in a small way, the women that I know are building with their whole heart and soul, trying to get traction, trying to build their business, but are feeling extremely overwhelmed by the marketing. And because the marketing is such a vital part of your success or failure, my vision is that every founder has the basic, most solid foundational elements of marketing so they can lead and grow extraordinary teams to build brands that have a global impact. This is my vision, but it starts on the ground floor. So in order for me to develop the right products, I created a little survey that I would love for you to fill out. In fact, the first 25 founders to fill out the survey will be receiving a personal thank you note from me and a $5 Starbucks gift card as my little way of saying thank you and just being able to buy you a coffee for doing this favor for me. Because I know that anything great, any product or service that develops always starts with the customer. So if you're a founder building anything out there, right? If you're a solopreneur, if you're a tech entrepreneur, if you are, if you have a product-based business, doesn't matter what it is, I would love to hear from you. So will you help me out? It would mean the world to me. And if so, you can see the link to the survey in the show notes, or you can just visit Ugly Ventures, which is UGLI, ugly with an I, ventures.com/survey. I have so much gratitude for all of you out there listening, and I thank you so much. Have a beautiful rest of your holiday weekend, and I hope to see you back here next week for the Marketing for Startups podcast.
That's it for this week. Thank you for listening to the Marketing for Startups podcast and for sticking around till the end. It would mean so much to me if you could like and subscribe to this podcast. It's a great way of telling the world that this podcast has content worth listening to. And remember, you could always reach me at LinkedIn at Victoria Hajar or at uglyventures.com. Thanks for listening. Until next week.